Merchandisers in grocery stores breathed a sigh of relief today as they began receiving items from the Matson ship that arrived overnight. As PNC's Betsy Brown reports, it was carrying 2 weeks' worth of supplies because last week's ship didn't come in.
There will be plenty of milk, lettuce, tomatoes, and other fresh items at Payless again soon. The long-awaited Matson ship has come in. General Manager Mike Benito expected all of last week's goods to be unloaded by 4 this afternoon, and he says Payless employees will work through the night to restock bare shelves.
Today, as a matter of fact, we have a full crew that will be at our warehouse to help break things down, especially the produce. More than our normal staff, we've actually brought people from the stores to our distribution center to help expedite the process. The product will be brought in tonight. I had our crew, most of them went home for the day. They'll be back tonight about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then many of them will work pretty much through the night and through the morning to get our shelves full.
Because last week's shipment didn't arrive until today, Payless limited the amount of produce that customers could purchase last week. That was to ensure that there would be enough product for their regular customers.
Not only were our individual consumers getting their needs, but we also had a lot of hotels and restaurants, and they were affected as well. So we were pretty much all on the same boat, no pun intended. Because
no shipment arrived from Matson last week, the Manalei came overnight carrying twice as many goods and containers as usual.
Well, hopefully we don't have too much damage and spoilage. Hopefully we don't have too many products that expired, because remember, it missed a week, right? So some of that produce that was surfaced is an additional week owed. Now, most of the time, if you keep it in that cold chain throughout and you keep it consistent, it's going to stay okay. And of course, we won't sell product that's outdated, obviously. So we'll manage that and make sure that only the freshest possible product is out there.
Matson General Manager Bernie Valencia previously told PNC that the ship that was scheduled to arrive last week needed to be repaired after it was damaged in a storm. Port Authority Deputy General Manager Felix Pangilinan expects all of the cargo from last week's shipment and this week's shipment to be unloaded from the vessel by 4 in the morning Friday. Betsy Brown, PNC News.
Yesterday, PNC brought you the story of the brave men of GPD who risked their lives to pull a 65-year-old man from a burning vehicle. Today, we introduce you to these men as they were honored by Acting Governor Ray Tenorio.
Meet Brian Gumatautau, Daryl Kitagwa, Alan Guzman, John Camacho, and Keon Pangilinan. These are the 5 brave Guam Police Department officers who pulled a 65-year-old man from a burning car, saving his life.
Sometimes in public safety, we have a lot of bad things that happen in life. We ought to really celebrate the good things as well, because these men have displayed the same kind of courage and cooperation and teamwork that you find every single day on the streets of Guam, but in many times it's not highlighted to the level that it was in this particular instance. When they call them Guam's finest, that's for a reason.
All 5 of these officers are from the Agate precinct, and although they are being treated as heroes, they accepted today's Lati Award with the utmost humility.
It's something that we don't normally come across every day. And in fact, we're still trying to cope with the situation. The main concern there, other than our safety, was we needed to get the guy alive. I mean, we thought that we'd only see it on the movies, but actually to experience it ourselves, it's still trying to hit. I've been still hitting a lot with our group in the platoon.
What did your spouses say about these?
They say they're proud. Hopefully that they say that they wish that individual has a speedy recovery.
And according to GMH spokeswoman June Perez, the victim of that crash is in critical but stable condition in GMH's intensive care unit. The Guam Federation of Teachers is asking the district court to render a public law 32-236 that would unjustly punish teachers for misconduct inorganic. PNC's Janela Guerrero joins us now to tell us more. Janela?
Thanks, Clint. That's exactly what the Guam Federation of Teachers believes this law does. It puts educators' jobs on the line and leaves them with no available recourse to appeal their cases, even if they're innocent. I spoke with GFT President Tim Fedenko today, who explains how this law could impact not just jobs, but lives as well. The bill was introduced by Speaker Judy Wonpat and was passed just before the end of the 32nd Guam legislature. It was met with some criticism, and now the Guam Federation of Teachers has taken the first step to get this law off the books. GFT President Tim Fedenko explains why they've taken the lead on this case.
We wanted to express our concern and show that the law we feel is inorganic. It bypasses the Civil Service Commission, so we wanted to support any senator that would change this by showing them that we're seriously concerned about protecting our members.
Typically, GovGuam employees are able to appeal any adverse action taken against them through the Civil Service Commission, which is authorized by the Organic Act of Guam.
The Organic Act states that the Civil Service Commission is in there to protect or to hear public employees' concerns, and so this bypasses that, and for that reason we feel it's inorganic.
Instead, he believes the law only gives one body the power to make decisions on its own.
This goes to the Civil Service Commission, to the certification office. The certification office who issues teacher certifications is also the judge, the lawyer, and the hangman. Right? They do everything, and there's no appeal. They investigate it, they decide on it, and then they take action on it.
Fedenko says while the writ was filed in federal court, it hasn't been served to the Guam Commission for Educator Certification.
We've filed a writ, but we haven't served, so we're hoping that it gets changed before the serving of it.
Now, Fedenko emphasizes that while teacher misconduct should certainly be investigated, GovGuam employees still deserve the right to appeal their cases with the Civil Service Commission.
Various testimony, both for and against the demolishing of the Manuel Guerrero DOA building, was given during a public hearing held by the legislature today. Governor Eddie Calvo has plans to demolish the building in order to make way for the recreation of the governor's palace originally built by the Spanish.
DPW Director Glenn Leon Guerrero says his inspectors found major problems with the Manuel Guerrero DOA building in Hagatna.
He estimates that the structure was built in 1960, which makes the building over 50 years old. Based on the building code standards at the time of construction, the building will not meet current building code and may require an extensive amount of structural retrofit.
Leon Guerrero says this will include exterior and interior reinforcement of concrete walls, repair to concrete spalling damage, and the replacement of the entire mechanical and electrical systems. This could come at an estimated cost of $17.5 to $25.5 million. Guam EPA also testified, saying that their inspectors recently found numerous health and safety issues with the building,
such as lead-based paint, asbestos in tiles and metal safe boxes, mold, rear projector films and canisters, uncontained and possibly ignitable, reactive and toxic, fluorescent bulbs, possibly containing mercury, and fluorescent bulb fixtures.
Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz is off island, but he submitted written testimony in opposition to the demolition of the Manuel Guerrero building and asked Kin Perez to read it for him.
This was the place from which Governor Manuel Guerrero planted the seeds of Guam's prosperity and signed into law the creation of the Guam Economic Development Authority, the same entity that now advocates the destruction of the building which bears Guerrero's name.
And Perez told lawmakers on behalf of Cruz that replacing the Manuel Guerrero building entirely with the governor's palace would mean wiping out an important part of Guam's history.
Why would we honor a place in which we, the Chamorro people, were servants to a Spanish crown at the cost of dismantling the place in which we became statesmen? Why shouldn't the Manuel F.L. Guerrero building continue to stand witness not only to the history of the Guamanian people, but also to the boundless promise of our future?
The Vice Speaker says there is an alternative that can allow the recreation of the governor's palace, as well as keeping the Manuel Guerrero building. Cruz says in his testimony there were already plans that would have allowed for this to happen.